Hi, welcome to the Quiet Zone. And today is the coronavirus isolation freakout class. We're all at home, we're all isolated, and we're all freaking out. So, what do we do about that? How do we handle that? Okay. What we're going to do, let me start my slideshow for you. Okay. Okay. So that looks like pretty much what all of us are going through right now is this freak out in the box. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? So, what I'm going to talk to you today about is first of all, what's happening to us? Okay. This is something unique. This is not something our society has experienced in recent memory. And even when we did have the pandemic of the flu back in 1918, we didn't have the resources that we have now. So this is kind of a new experimental uh, thing that's happening to us. So this pandemic is causing an upheaval of our routines. This results in distress. We're afraid of getting sick or of a loved one getting sick, especially because this is passed so easily. We're also afraid of not working or not making enough money to pay our bills, which results in a whole bunch of other problems down the road. And of course, there's isolation and disconnection from our support networks, okay, as well as many, many other corollary problems. This all results in distress and freak out, okay? So the distress isn't what's the problem. That's not the real problem because we go through stressful situations every day as human beings. It's what we do with it, how we feel about it, what we tell ourselves about it that makes a difference in how we feel, okay? So what do we do about it? We need to create, and I've got my face here in the wrong spot. We need to create a new life view. Okay. Um, let's put it this way. I think it was Einstein who said the definition of insanity is repeating the same behaviors over and over and expecting a different result. Okay. So if we keep thinking the same way and responding the same way to distress, okay, no matter what kind of distress it is, um, we're not we're not going to have a good result. Okay, so what we need to do is create a new life view. Okay, we have to have a new default starting point for our perception of life and distress at a base level. Okay, so our new life view, our new viewpoint, our new baseline, our new default setting should be one that is mindful, grateful, positive, dictated by our values, and reinforced by our self talk. So, what we're going to do is first, I'm going to talk to you about how to create that new life view. And then what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what happens when stuff gets real and things are not so great, and you need to work your way out of that. Okay. So the first step we talked about is mindfulness. Okay. The past is gone. The future's not here yet. Okay. We have a bunch of milestones and pins, and they could be positive and they could be negative, but that's not where the vast majority of our time on earth lies. It's the time in between the births, the graduations, the marriages, the jobs, the loss of jobs, the moving. Okay. Those are all our pins and milestones, but 90% of our time on earth lies on those in between moments. So the logical thing to do is to use those in between moments to our greatest advantage. Okay, so real quick, we're going to talk about some how to be mindful. Okay, how to learn that. There are exercises you could do right now. Okay, so being mindful means being observant. And that just means to observe your body, your emotions, your thoughts, your environment with acceptance. Okay. First, your environment. Observe your environment from the eyes of someone who's never been there before. What do you see? What do you notice? What sounds do you hear? Are there aromas? Are there textures? Are there patterns that you've never noticed before? Um, when you're working, focus on whatever task it is that you're doing right now. Okay, so are you doing work? Are you washing the dishes? Are you doing laundry? Are you mopping the floor? Are you feeding the dog? Don't think about the next thing that you want to do. Focus on what you're doing right now. Okay. Um, Notice the way that your clothes feel on your body. Okay. Notice the way that your feet feel on the ground. Notice the temperature of the room. Another thing that you can do to be mindful is to describe what you're doing as you're doing it. Okay. So I'm washing the dishes, and first I'm washing the plates, and now I'm washing some cups, and I'm putting some more soap on the sponge, and now I'm washing. You get the idea. Observe every time, and I love doing this one because it reminds me of when I was a little kid. Observe every time you step on your right foot or your left foot, okay? Are you stepping on the cracks in the sidewalk? How do your feet feel in your shoes? Notice those kind of things and make a game out of it. Have fun with it. Now, the second thing that we were talking about in creating a new baseline viewpoint is to develop an attitude of gratitude and positivity. What we're doing is we're simply viewing the same events from a new vantage point. Okay, so if we have this highlighter and these are all the events that happen to us in our life, okay, well, let's look at it from this vantage point. And now it's smaller and brighter, okay? It's the same highlighter. We're just looking at it from a different angle. And the same thing applies to developing this attitude of positivity and gratitude, okay? We're viewing the same events from a different vantage point, okay? And I talk to my clients about this being the new car factor, okay? So when you get a new car, you drive around out on the road, and you notice all the other ones just like it out there, okay? Well, they didn't just appear magically overnight, okay? They were always there, but now you're noticing them because they're familiar. So the more gratitude, positivity, awe, wonder, amazement about everyday things that we see, the more we notice, the more we'll notice. Okay, we'll start to see more and more and more. We won't be taking having an attitude of taking for granted the things that are around us in our lives. Okay, we subconsciously create environments for good things to happen. We set the stage for better relationships because other people will be familiar with what they see in us, and we will attract those people who are also positive, who are grateful, who are mindful, because they will recognize it in you. Please do remember that there is always something to be grateful for, even if it's only that we just had the strength to survive it. And this is very important to do, because by changing the way we look at these things, this is how we're going to change the way we feel about the distress, okay? Especially in this environment right now where we're kind of locked up and isolated. Okay, so here are some ways that you can create an attitude of gratitude and positivity. Keep a gratitude journal. Okay, and I'm not talking about writing a book here. I'm talking about every day writing down 2 or 3 small things that happen to you that are wonderful, amazing, or that you can be grateful for. Okay. For example, I write down things like, I made it through 3 green traffic lights in a row. The cashier at the store was very friendly. I was able to carry the bags in from the car without hurting my back. Whatever, all these little tiny silly things. You can put in those big, huge, wonderful milestones too. I love my family. Okay, I'm sure you do. We all love our families. But what I want you to do is to look for the little things, because remember, we're not going for the milestones. We're going for the little in-between moments and maximizing them in our lives. Okay. Find that gratitude and positivity in the smallest of things. Look at the everyday things you took for granted before and find the wonder and amazement and beauty in your environment. Be grateful for comfy, like I love this sweater, my comfy sweater. I'm very grateful for it. I have a huge amount of gratitude for the technology that enables me now to speak to you, even though you may or may not be here with me right now. Our cell phones. Okay, this is a computer in your hand. You could talk to somebody without a wire. That's a miracle. Okay. um, I tell my clients all the time to imagine what would happen if you brought Ben Franklin into your living room to watch a Netflix movie with you. Okay, they would either have a heart attack, okay, or they would have you arrested and tried for being a witch, because that would be, they would think that this was magic. Okay, and in a sense it is magic. These are magical things. Imagine your car. You're driving down the road at 55 miles an hour in a box on wheels. So can you do that? I mean, that's crazy. That's amazing. That's a miracle. Somebody had to design it. Somebody had to engineer it. There are people out there who understand how all those different systems in your car work. Okay, that's a miracle, because we can't all have all this knowledge. Okay, that the knowledge exists is a miracle. So don't take little things like that for granted. Find wonder and amazement and beauty in your environment. Um, Look at nature. Okay, you look at a flower. Oh my gosh, have you ever really looked at a flower? Okay. Have you touched the petals? They feel, how do they feel? Do they feel soft? Do they feel waxy? Are they firm? Are they fragile? Look at butterflies flying. Just the grass. Okay. Look at how the grass waves in the breeze. Okay. That's a miracle. So make it a game. Make it a game to see how many things you found to appreciate that day, and write a few of them down in your journal. Now, I know that this kind of stuff you're saying, well, what does this have to do with the coronavirus isolation? But our behaviors should be based upon our personal value system and the person that we want to be. Okay. So, how we handle this, it's going to highly depend on what our personal values are. So, what are your personal values? What are the things that are the most important to you as a human being? What qualities do you think it's important to have? What traits do you have, or do you want to have? Now, I'm probably about 80% of the population is going to say they want to be kind and compassionate. Okay, that's fine. But there are others, and if you get stuck, go online and Google how what are some examples of values, personal values. Um, Honesty, reliability, hard work, efficiency, commitment, open-mindedness. Some of mine include wisdom, curiosity, and learning, being pragmatic and logical. Um, Everybody has their own set of values. Okay, it could be anything that you feel is important to you, but it's very important that you acknowledge what these things are, write them down. Okay, because the act of writing reinforces information in our brains, just like, and that's why I ask you to write down what you're grateful for, and to isolate different things and write them down, because that's how we reinforce that information in our minds, just like when we were kids and we had to write our spelling words 10 times each. The next part of this is, who is the person you want to be? So based on your list of values, what kind of person do you want to be? You might already be that person or not, but it's important to make note of them. Okay, so do you want to be kind and compassionate? Do you want to be the kind of person who sets healthy limits? And these, by the way, are real examples from my clients. Some of them want to be impactful and help others. One wanted to be strong and self-assured. One wanted to be the kind of person who manages time efficiently. And my favorite was, I want to be the kind of person my dog thinks I am. Okay. Um, uh, that's important to write down. Some of mine have to do with, I want to be the kind of person who helps others to feel good, and to learn how to do that on their own. Teach the man to fish, not give him a fish. Okay. So what are your desires? Who is the person that you want to be? And another part of that is, what are the things that you're really good at? Okay. Are you a great problem solver? Are you really compassionate and you care about people and you want to help them? Okay. These are your superpowers. Okay. Um, make a list of them too, because they are also going to help you solve problems, and be aware of what your superpowers are and bring them into the picture when you're trying to solve the problem of the distress of being at home. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Um, but for example, one of my superpowers is learning, curiosity. I value wisdom and I value knowledge. So whenever there's something that I don't quite understand, whether it has to do with the virus itself and how, my risk of getting sick and what should I do to protect myself, or how I can talk to my clients who may be experiencing PTSD um, because of this, I'm going to do some research and I'm going to learn, because that's one of my superpowers, is to problem solve and figure out the information that I need. Okay. Put that on your list too, of what your superpowers are, because we all have different ones. Your thoughts and behaviors and attitudes need to be based on your values, who you want to be, and what your superpowers are. Okay. Now, if your behavior does not reflect your values, you will experience what's called cognitive dissonance. Okay. And that's a cause of distress. That's where your behavior and your values and what you think are important are not in line with each other. Okay. So for example, if you value being responsible and being a hard worker and doing good job for your boss and at your job, and one of your superpowers is that you're really good at organizing and you're good at making things work, and you say, screw it, I'm going to sit here and put my feet up and watch TV all day long. Well, you're not going to feel too good about that. That's going to cause you distress. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do something like that as a reward for yourself, but that's a whole other thing. But your thoughts and your behavior and your attitudes need to be based on your values and who you want to be. Okay. Now, here's where we get into taking care of yourself. Self-esteem, self-confidence, self-talk. And again, you're probably wondering, what in the world does this have to do with the coronavirus and being isolated? What you tell yourself about this situation is going to have a huge bearing on how you feel about it. Okay. We talked in the beginning about creating a new life view, a new default standpoint. Okay. And this is important to consider, is whether or not you feel confident enough to be able to function in a unique situation, the way you talk to yourself about it. Okay, this is horrible, this is terrible, or I can get through this, I can do this. Okay, there's a difference. Our self-esteem is inward facing, and it's how we feel about ourselves. Okay, and of course our self-confidence is what we show the rest of the world. And these can be at odds with each other. But our self-talk, our positive self-talk, is not only a way to view our situation that we're working in right now without the attitude of distress, but it's also a great way to create feelings of self-esteem and self-confidence. So not only are you dealing with the problem, you are doing something great for yourself. Okay. So how do you do this? Okay. So if you had a friend sitting next to you right now, or somebody that you loved, and they are feeling, I feel isolated, I feel upset, I feel distressed, I can't deal with this anymore, I'm trapped in the house, I hate working at home, or I'm not working at home and I'm really distressed over money and I don't know what to do, what would you say to that person? Would you tell them to pick yourself up and dust yourself off and what's the matter with you and you're stupid, what are you doing? Of course you're not going to talk to your friend or your loved one that way. You're going to be encouraging and you're going to be calming and you're going to say, hey, we'll work through this. It'll be fine. Let's get through this. Okay. That's how you should be talking to yourself. Why would you treat somebody else better than you're treating yourself? Okay. The next thing is to create positive self-talk that's based on the smallest of real accomplishments. And there's a reason for that. Okay. That's because if you sit there and say, I'm going to deal with this, I'm going to not be stressed out about staying at home, your subconscious isn't going to believe you. Okay. And it's going to sabotage you. So what you want to do is you want to create self-talk that's based on the smallest of real accomplishments. So while you're at home, hey, I got that report done. I managed to follow a regular schedule for the day. Good for me. Pat yourself on the back and give yourself a golfer's clap. Okay. Set yourself up to succeed. Reward yourself. Okay. So look at this. This is fantastic. I got through the whole work day and I didn't get frustrated once. I managed to create that report that I needed to get done and I got it submitted to my boss. Look at this. I was able to clean out this closet that I've been thinking about for 10 years. Good for me. Pat on the back, golfer's clap. Okay, set yourself up to succeed, which means that if you're, let's say that we were talking about how your values and who you want to be should determine your behaviors and your attitudes, okay, and your thought process. So let's say that the person you want to be is a very calm, reasonable parent. Okay. So what you do is you resolve, I am going to feed the kids and I'm not going to yell at anybody once. So you're going to feed the kids lunch and then you're going to go back to work and you're going to set yourself up to succeed. And then you're going to get back into the office and you're going to say, good for me, golfer's clap. Look, I did it. Okay. If you, for example, if you say that one of your values is kindness and compassion, do something kind and compassionate for somebody else. So give the kids a hug. Go out and say, hey, you guys did a great job on your homework. Big hug. Mommy loves you. Daddy loves you. Set yourself up to succeed. And now you go back into your office and you go, oh, good for me. Look at that. I'm a good parent because you did. You did something that was great. Okay. Golfer's clap. Pat yourself on the back. Okay. Every day in your journal, when you're writing down things that you could be grateful for, and that you found wondrous and amazing and awesome, include some things about you. Okay. And they don't have to be big honking things. They could just be little tiny things like, you know what? I really like the way I did my makeup today. Boy, that lipstick looks great. I love it. Good for me. Good. I put on a good color lipstick. I wore the most soft, comfortable clothes and I worked all day long in them. That's amazing. I'm so pleased with myself. Golfer's clap, pat myself on the back. Okay. Um, Also, practice some self-care. Reward yourself, okay, both in a physical and an emotional thing. Many times we rely on other people to give us validation, okay? We rely on other people to provide those golfers' claps and those pats on the back. Don't wait for somebody else to do it. Give it to yourself, okay? Um, Go have the bubble bath in the tub or take an hour out of your day to watch the Netflix movie, and put your feet up for a little while. Go for a walk and notice all the beautiful things in nature and find something to be grateful for. Practice self-care. Take care of yourself. What is something that you love to do? And give yourself an hour a day to do that, or half an hour, whatever amount of time that you have. Block out time in your calendar to make that happen. Okay, so here's the guts of the thing. What to do when things aren't so great. Okay, so now you have a solid foundation to deal with the stress of daily life. Okay, this is your new life view, your new default baseline position. Mindfulness, gratitude, awe and amazement, wonder, positive self-talk, values. Okay, who do you want to be? Okay, I'm ready for this. And now you're in a moment and you are frustrated and you're angry and something's going wrong. So what do we do about this? Okay. Well, we can't all be Pollyanna happy all the time, right? So some things that affect our ability to cope are our unrealistic expectations of the way things should or should not be, okay? And also the need to have control over someone, something, or some situation, okay? Now, when it comes to control, just be aware that the need for control is directly proportionate to how out of control we feel about something in our lives. Okay. So the more that you insist that the kids behave this way, okay, that probably means that you feel out of control about work, about money, about the situation, about being at home, whatever. Okay. Be aware of that. Okay. You can use that knowledge to step back from the anger that you may feel. Um, so we also have to realign our expectations by reminding ourselves that things may things are not always the way we think they should be. Okay, people are going to behave the way that they behave. Should they have behaved that way? Maybe not. Okay, you may be right, but guess what, they did. Okay, so now what do we do with that? It creates negative emotion, it creates negative situations. And what do we do with that? So what I teach my clients to use are the power questions. Okay, the power questions are a great way to get yourself out of a sticky moment or an uncomfortable emotion at the time. Okay. Now, there are ways that you take those bad emotions out later and say, well, why did this happen? Okay. But we can't always do that in the moment. Okay. So here are the power questions that you can use when things start getting real and you don't know exactly what to do with these emotions. So first thing you ask yourself is, how important is this really? Okay. Many times, now sometimes things are important, sure, but a lot of times things aren't as important as the weight that we give them. Okay. So you can ask yourself, is this going to matter in 5 minutes? Is this going to matter in 5 weeks? Is this going to matter in a year? Okay. Am I going to remember this next week? And another thing you can say to yourself is, well, is this going to affect the weather on Jupiter? Probably not. Okay. So now we move on to the next question. What is something positive and constructive that I can do about this right now? Okay. So you're working from home in your office, or you're not working and you're frustrated. Okay. What can you do about it? What can you do to make your work day go better? Go into brainstorming mode. Okay. What are some activities that you can do at home to make your time more palatable, feel more productive, or palliative in terms of emotion? Okay. And that leads us to the next question, which is, what emotions am I feeling? And this is important. Okay. Usually the combination of what emotions am I feeling and what is something I can do about it um, are enough to get you calmed down in the moment. Okay. So the idea is, let's just say that you're angry and you're irritated and you're frustrated. Okay. So what we're going to do is, those emotions feel like this, right? I'm angry, I'm irritated, I'm frustrated. They start to spiral. They're overtaking us. Okay. Identify and label. Okay. So now you're taking this and you're bringing it down to here. It's just a label. I am feeling angry because, I am feeling irritated because, I am feeling frustrated because. Okay. Um, and say to yourself, this is what it's like to feel that way, because you're a human being. Okay. Human beings feel that way sometimes. Okay. So don't push away the emotion. Don't stuff it down. Okay. Acknowledge it. Okay. Well, here it is. I'm angry because, I'm irritated because, this is what it's like to feel angry and irritated. Okay. I'm a human being. I'm going to feel these emotions. So what you want to do is treat them as though they were unruly children in the car. Okay. Identify and label, put them in the back seat, strap them in, and say, you can come along, but I'm driving. You're not. Okay. This is how it feels to be angry and irritated and frustrated. I am going to focus on something positive and constructive I can do about it. Okay. You see where this is going. You don't want to leave them in the back seat too long, because then they will climb over and bite you. But that's another seminar entirely. We'll do that another time, is pull them out of the back seat and pick them apart and see why they're bothering you so much. Okay. But the next question to ask yourself is, now, what would the person I want to be do in this situation? And as a corollary question, how do I want to feel in the end? So if I'm somebody who is strong and resilient, okay, if I am a good parent who is patient and reasonable, if I am a hard worker and good at my job, and insert your personal values here, What would I do? What would the person who I want to be do? And how do I want to feel at the end? Do I want to feel good that I did the right thing, or I at least tried, even if I wasn't successful? Okay. Or do I want to feel guilty because I let my negative emotions overtake me? Okay. And lastly, ask yourself, what's something positive I can learn from this situation? Because even if you make a mistake and you don't handle it the way that you want to, and you still get upset, if you learn something from it, you are still turning it, you're reframing it, you're turning it into a positive. Okay. So, what is something you can learn from this situation? I learned that from now on, I can't do this, or I learned from now on that this works really well, or I figured out that this is what I'm going to have to do later. Okay. Whatever. Something positive that you can learn from the situation. Okay. I want to thank you for joining me. My name is Susan Patang. I'm with the Quiet Zone Coaching. I teach people how to feel good, manage stress, and find happiness. If you would like to learn more about, because this is just a taste, if you would like to learn more about dealing with the distress of what's happening right now, especially if you are working in the healthcare field or you're on the front lines as an essential worker, the last thing that we want is to have people develop PTSD from having lived through this situation. So please feel free to contact me at thequietzonecoaching.com. We will find ways to mitigate some of this distress that you're having, get you back to feeling good, take your life back, and don't worry about money. My prices are on the website, but I also will work with you. Whatever you can afford is what you'll pay. I don't turn anybody away who really wants to find peace. So please feel free to contact me. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.